So the fade out of this intro sound sounds really good, but at the moment if we leave the track here at 14, what happens is when it gets to the end it actually loops around again and it begins to play the sound again. So to fix this we have to kind of give ourselves a little bit more space, roughly about 30 seconds, that's how long the actual track lasts. We're going to hover over the end of this until the cursor turns into this two-headed arrow, and we're just going to click and drag all the way up to 30. Okay, and it's currently on post extrapolate hold for infinity. Okay, it's very important that it's on that. So what will happen there is it will fade out, go silent all the way to the end of the music track, and then it will begin to loop again. But at that point, as long as that audio sound is not looped, it will then never play again until you restart the level. Okay, so that one is now working. Now then, what about putting in a 3D sound? Now there are quite a few 3D sounds already in here. So for example, we can see this little speaker gizmo icon thing. So if we click on this, we can already see that there is one that is set up, and this is for the water sound. Okay, and as you can see, this is spatial blend on 3D, etc. And these are the settings that are being used for that. We're going to put in our own sound. So what I'm going to do is, let me just click on this, double click to get a little bit closer. There we go. We're going to put a sound when we first come onto this sort of street here. Okay, just to speed things up a little bit, I'll take the light off. So roughly around here, so when we walk on here we should get a different kind of sound. So once again, I'm just going to go game object, 3D object and cube. Alright, now that's put it in the right place, which is great. And then obviously we can put it wherever we like, this cube, where we would like it to be. So roughly about there is good. So now we can remove the box collider, we can remove the mesh renderer and the mesh filter. Let's just give it a bit of a tag so we know that that's cube. And I will call this street sound so that I know which one it is. Okay, and I'm going to drag street sound onto sounds to keep it nice and organized. And then component, audio, audio source. Okay, now the sound that I want is actually the ambient burn. So I'm going to go to assets, I think it's under horror elements, ambient, and ambient burn. There it is. Oh, it was actually in the same folder. Okay, I'm going to click and drag this into the audio clip, and this time I'm going to change spatial blend from 2D to 3D. Now as you can see that like little line there moving to show what kind of an effect that is having on this curve. And at the moment I have a logarithmic roll-off. You could actually change that to a linear roll-off if you want, or keep it at logarithmic. So while it's on this one, basically it means that it's slightly more realistic in the way in which it interacts with your player. But I actually quite prefer the linear roll-off. Okay, so it gives more of a kind of a pleasing result in the game. So the minimum distance for this is probably going to be about a 2, and the maximum distance probably around a 40. Now as we scroll out a little bit, we can see that that is the extent at which it's actually going to be noticeable to the player. So you should actually notice it when you're walking into this area, and definitely when you get close you should be able to hear it. But if you stand inside of that bubble, it shouldn't really be. That should be where it's like the most intense. Okay, so it shouldn't be rolling off in any way. Now perhaps when we come down here to this house, Perhaps we can put a sound on here as well. We've got a few other sounds. I think these are the rustling leaves. So leaf rustle, yeah, so we can hear those bits of sound. But I'm actually going to put one roughly about here. So my assets, game object, 3D object, and cube. Okay, and just game object align with view. There we go. So now we've got a cube right about there. Once again, just remove everything off it. So it's very important when you're working with 3D sounds that you know where the empty game objects are based. That's why I create the cube. And I will call this one building exterior sound. So building ext sound. Once again, just drag it onto the sounds box or cube. You can add a component here if you want, so it's going to be audio and it's going to be audio source right at the bottom. And the sound that I want for this one is under Aura SFX MP3, and it's going to be this second one. Okay, this Ambience Hell 01. Or actually, sorry, Ambience Hell 02. The first one I think is a little bit too loud. So I'm just going to click and drag that one over onto the audio clip, make it a 3D sound, and once again have a linear roll off. Minimum distance around a 2, maximum distance I'm going to say around 60. Okay, so you should be able to hear that quite far away. The further away it is, that sound will actually be relatively quiet at this point, but it just gets louder and louder and louder when you get in there. So the smaller this maximum distance is, the less of a build-up you have on your sound. It just instantly gets loud when you get near it, the smaller that is. The further away it is, it should be more of a gradual increase in the sound. Okay, so I've put some sounds in there. In the next video, I'm going to do a walkthrough and see how these sound.